In the last episode of Project Mk2 Mr2, I discovered that my ignition coil was completely destroyed, and that was probably the reason why I was having problems with the car starting. In that video, I couldn't get the ignition coil off the bracket because the screw heads had rusted. Since that video, I tried a screw extractor kit which did not work because the bracket was basically welded on to the ignition coil. So I just got annoyed, pulled the grinder out and grinded the ignition coil off the bracket, and that's where we start this video with the bracket now disconnected from the ignition coil, and we're ready to fit the new one to see if it fixes the starting issues on the car.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're all well. And as you know from, I think I inserted some clips, so as you guys should know, I managed to get this nightmare of a bracket off the old ignition coil, which was completely destroyed. Now it's even more destroyed because I grinded this off, but I needed this bracket for the new one. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to fit the new ignition coil to the bracket, and we're just going to get the car started. So we're not standing around, we're just going to get straight into it. Okay, so over here I've got these screws. I think these are M5s, and they're 30mm in length, I think. So the idea is, let me get the new ignition coil out of the box. So the idea is simple. Since I drilled where the screws would normally thread in, I'm just going to use a sort of nut and bolt combination. So this goes on like that. Okay, so I'll run this bolt through here, through the ignition coil, and then through the holes that I've cut in the bracket, and then we'll use the nuts to hold it all on. So that's what I was going to do until I made a crazy discovery. You guys are not going to believe the discovery I made last week. I was just looking in the engine bay last week and I made a discovery. You're not going to believe this. Let me just show you this now. So I had the light on and I was just looking down and having a look at the igniter, and I noticed what looked like an ignition coil. The car had two ignition coils on it, which makes no sense whatsoever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the igniter off to show you exactly what I mean, and then I'll give you my theory of what I think actually happened with this car. But first, let's take off the igniter. Okay, so as you guys can see, there's another ignition coil on the car, which to me makes no sense whatsoever. But I'm going to explain why I think there were two ignition coils on the car in a second. I think this is the very original ignition coil, because here you have the igniter and here you have the ignition coil, and this was the configuration that I'd actually seen online: igniter and a bracket connected to the ignition coil. But I just thought, this car being a 3SGE Rev1, maybe it was slightly different, and I thought this configuration was maybe only for the 3SGTEs, so the turbo variants. But I'm going to explain why I think this car has two just now. Okay guys, so I'm going to give you my theory on why this car had two ignition coils. So as you can see, this was the one that was attached to the car and plugged in. So what I think happened was, the original ignition coil broke, and one of the previous owners or mechanic bought this from a breaker, because as you can see it has the writing on it. And when they've went to fit this, they've noticed the screws are too rusted, they can't take them out. So they've just left the original one in, and they've just fitted this one as well, but just connected everything up to this ignition coil here. And I didn't even notice this at first because it's hidden, because this is placed deep in the engine bay facing this way, and the guy just placed this right at the top. But anyway, this one's completely destroyed, as we know. But this is good news for us. It means we can try and use the original bracket, and we can try and fit our new ignition coil onto the original bracket. I just want to show you guys one more thing with the original one as well. If we go back and look into the engine bay, where we have this connector to the... This is the connector that's meant to go to the ignition coil. It connects it to the distributor cap. As you can see, this doesn't fit the original one. because this is a Rev1 part and this is a Rev3 part that fits on. So I think whoever's changed this has changed the cabling to the Rev3 cabling as well. So I thought I'd just point that out as well for you guys. But I'm fitting even my replacement ignition coil is a Rev3 part. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to try and reuse the old bracket and replace the ignition coil and put onto this bracket how it would have came out of factory, as to reusing this bracket and the nuts and bolts. But if we can't get these screws off like I couldn't with the other one, then this is always our backup option. So what I'm going to show you guys now is, this is the original toolkit that comes with a Mk2 Toyota Mr2, and I bought this from a breaker in Greenock. So massive shout out to Douglas. I think a lot of the Scottish Mr2 owners know him because he does break the Mk2s, and he's probably provided lots of people with parts over the years. So I picked up this original toolkit from him as well with the car. So let me show you what you get inside it. So this would have came in the car back in the 90s. I think most of these are probably lost now from cars. So you open it up. Oh, this nearly fell. So you open up like that. This is where the jack goes. Mine's is in the garage. And you get a spanner, 14mm, 17mm. You get another one. I think this one's for brake bleeding, 8 and 10. You get some pliers. I believe this is for the jack. And then you get your screwdriver here. And yeah, this actually comes out like that. And you can swap it around and you can get your flathead. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this screwdriver for good luck to try and remove the old rusted screws. Well, the ones on this aren't too bad, but to remove the screws from the bracket. And I'll be sure to put plenty of pressure and hopefully they come off nice and easy. Just need to take the last one off now, and these have came off nice and easy, which is really, really good. Yeah, that one's also kind of snapped. And we have the old Rev1 ignition coil that's got a crack there in it, and we have it off. And here's our bracket. And this is a lot better than the other bracket, so we'll probably go ahead and fit our new ignition coil to this one, fit it into the car, and then put the battery in and give the car a start, and hopefully that's the end of our starting issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the drill. See, I've been working on the Mk1, so I've got all this stuff set up here with the welder. So I'm going to get the drill and this attachment, and we'll clean up the ignition coil bracket because I believe the ignition coil has to ground to it. And we'll also get some copper slip, some copper grease, just to put on the screws, just so they don't rust up again or become difficult to come out in the future, just so it's kind of like a good job done. So let's go and do that. So that's our bracket. Just by giving that a wee clean with the sort of wire brush attachment on the drill, you can see that's got a nice surface now to mate to. So I'm just gonna degrease this as well. I'll do that just now. Okay, so that's degreased now and cleaned up, and it's ready for the new ignition coil. And again, we'll use our trusty screwdriver from the original Mk2 toolkit to get that fitted on. So let's get our new ignition coil out. And the new ignition coil is a Rev3 plus part or Rev2 plus part. So, but that's fine because the connector we have fits it anyway. So, as you can see, both surfaces, grounding this to this, and then that's our igniter, all on one bracket now. Bang. And let's start to get some of our screws in. I hope this works. It should work. Here we have it, guys. Our igniter, our brand new ignition coil, screws all in nicely, grounded nicely to the grounding plate, And yeah, I didn't put these on too tight, I just got them snug. But that's on absolutely solid. And yeah, we're ready to fit this back onto the car. There we go, at long last. That's in. Voila, job done. Finally, that feels good. That feels really good to get done. Guys, what I'm going to do now is, it feels good to have that connected up. Fingers crossed the car does start. So I'm just going to quickly clean everything up here, and then we'll put the, once I've cleaned all of this up, we'll put the battery into the car and test it all out. Okay guys, let's go and grab our battery. Where is it? Here it is. Bang! I haven't actually had this on the trickle charger, so hopefully it does have enough juice in it. But it's not been plugged in, so should do the job. Put the battery over here. Oh, I'm getting excited now. Come on, Mr2. Just start up first time. Please, I need another bit of wood. We'll use this. Please, please, Mr2. Okay. Is that holding just about? Yeah, I forgot to show you guys, there's a whole load of rust here. I just started hammering it the other day with this when I was bored. Let the bikers pass. So there's a bit of rust here as well that I'll probably have to weld some new metal in. Let's take the tyre out. Let's get our new battery, and I'm getting it in the right way this time. And I'm not getting my finger stuck under it either. Hopefully. So just put it in here for now. Move this out the way. Ah, God's sake. Wait. It is a really awkward one to get in. Okay, I didn't get my finger stuck. Good sign. So positive on. Negative on. Sometimes these actually need to be screwed up to get a good connection, but I think we should be okay. And the key's already in the ignition, I think. Oh, our ignition's on. Brilliant. Brilliant. I don't know if you can see that, but our ignition's on. Just gonna turn it off for a second. Let's test the pop-ups are still working. It's been a while. Here we go. Oh yes, they still work. I just need to come to the front to see them. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Alright, let's not waste any battery power. And here we go, guys. Just make sure there's nothing here that shouldn't be here, because the engine bay, it might, yeah, looks good. I'm just gonna double check all the connections. So, distributor cap, connected to ignition coil, connector to ignition coil, and electrical connector to igniter, and bolts secured. Everything's secured. Oh, come on. Is that loose? I don't think this should move around that much, but deal with that later. All right. Mr2. Mr2. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Started pretty easy, I think. It took a second, but it started pretty easy, so I think that's a success, guys. I think that's the cold start issue sorted. Been a while since this engine started, so I'll give it a wee run. Oh man, that's awesome. But what I need to do, guys, is I need to actually wait for a rainy day to test it out fully. To see, you know, to really test. To let some moisture, you know, when it's raining, and see if it starts up first time. But I don't think the car's ever started that well in the whole time I've owned it, so that's really positive. Let's take it for a wee. It's SORNed and I don't have insurance, so this is private land here, so we'll take on a wee drive just up and down Might as well, because it's been so long since I've driven it. The Mr2 is so loud because I'm pretty sure it's decatted and I think it's got an exhaust leak, but let's go on a wee drive. Just up and down. It's been so long. Oh man. Oh man, Mr2. And guys, don't be like me, don't fly a drone and drive. It's probably not a good idea. Oh yes, here we go. And holding 2 cameras on a drone and drive. Brakes are a bit spongy, but they're fine. Oh yes. Oh boys, the Mr2. Just the responsiveness of a naturally aspirated engine. Oh man. No power steering isn't too bad, as you can see. Rev1 means no power steering. Do a wee U-turn. So guys, the 1990 Mr2, this one was spec'd with the bird's eye view as you reverse, as you can see. So I can see all around me. You know, the Japanese, they were really good with the technology they implemented. So as you can see, I've got plenty of space behind and I can reverse. See, bird's eye view. And let's spin it round. And there we have it guys, the Mr2 is started and running again. I'm just going to drive it around for fun a few more times. But yeah, I think that ignition coil has sorted it and I'm so happy that that's sorted. I'll need to test it again when it's raining because it's quite a nice day here in Glasgow. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, and if you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. I'm just gonna keep driving up and down a few times. It just brings a smile to my face, you know, the Mk2. And then I've got so much work to do on this Mk1, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So expect some videos on this soon. Behind the scenes, I have been working on this a lot. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, I really appreciate it, guys. And I'll see you in the next video, and peace.